Right, guys, sorry for the bit of a delay here. We had a few guys trying to figure out how to work the internet, and apparently they finally figured it out. You know, that whole turn on the computer, knock the wood off, you know, all that craziness, right?
Yeah, it was a little bit delayed, but it wasn't too bad. So, it was ClimaxByUsher here, nice enough to wait for Stan and Pals as we get into the finals here in the Doge Pile tournament. Best of 3 between these two teams. I'm Helium, and with me is Dark Jester.
Hola!
You're a man of
Right, back
many
to the old style
ethnicities
bands. Well, we got the old style bands coming out here. They're banning the IO. If they ban a Bat Rider now, they've just kind of went all old school on it.
It's
really nice. Oh, come on now. We always like the old school.
Yeah, Bat Rider though.
Right, so they banned the OD. Like we discussed before, OD just doesn't seem to have the power he had pre 6.79.
I mean, he's definitely still a good hero, but I think he's a lot better off in the solo safe lane, or even with some supports in the safe lane, farming up a Midas and going for more carry items than, say, the mid-game utility items like we saw him getting with the mech. But we see a new skill ban coming out here, the Death Prophet being dropped out by ClimaxByUsher, and Standard Pals, they take out the Nature's Prophet.
Team, pick.
Well, it takes out a lot of pushing potential for these guys as they move into this tournament. They still have a few pushing heroes still left, but it's taking out some of the major players in it. And Rat Dota's out. I mean, God, you missed out on the awesome Rat Dota game we played while waiting.
Did I? Because watching Rat Dota games is okay, playing them is awful.
Remaining.
Even, no matter what side you're on, it's just not fun. And ClimaxByUsher with the first pick, they elect to go with the Alchemist instead of maybe picking up that Crystal Maiden or the Visage, Timbersaw, Bristleback, even the Veno. A lot of first picks in this current metagame. They go with the Alchemist, nice ambiguous pick, can keep Stand Pals guessing for a little while.
And that might be the whole mind game behind it, is they got to make sure that, you know, at this point, they're not really sure what Standing Pals is going. Look at the bands. The bands just kind of very... Okay, these are kind of common bands. Now, what are you going? Because if they're looking for more of a counter-pick situation, they have to kind of wait for that first couple of picks to come in. And... Hey, you remember how you just said Bristleback, Crystal Maiden?
Yeah, they're definitely really good
There
heroes.
they are.
And they're going to be even better together because Bristleback is sort of a spammy hero with that Quill Spray. So having the aura there by the Crystal Maiden, the Arcane aura, is going to help him out a lot throughout the game and specifically early on in the laning stage. Could be the start of an aggressive trialing as well with those two picks.
10
Yeah,
seconds
it does allow
remaining.
for a lot of... I mean, anytime I see a Crystal Maiden picked up, I almost always expect an aggressive tri-lane. Her skills really kind of center around being aggressive early game. Now, Clockwork being picked up, I'm not sure if this is going to be great unless they move him to a tri-lane situation. Just because we've seen him solo against the Bristleback, and it hasn't worked out well for him.
Yeah, it's definitely not the easiest matchup. Clockwork can do
10 seconds
okay
remaining.
early on to get some CS and then, you know, get level 6 and leave the lane.
5 seconds
But
remaining.
once Bristleback gets a couple points in Quill Spray, it's really hard unless Clockwork is playing aggressive with a couple points in Battery Assault, chasing him down. And even then, it's not great,
Radiant
so
team ban.
we'll see. Clockwork, although he doesn't have to get a lot, he'd be better off against, you know, the tri-lane, which maybe they will find themselves against the Bristleback Crystal Maiden tri-lane with their offlaner, but that's... We'll see. And so far the bands, you know, really good for picks here. Clockwork is an extremely
10
strong
seconds
offlaner
remaining.
right now.
5
Yeah,
seconds
it's just...
remaining.
I don't know. If he ends up with the matchup against Bristleback, it's going to be almost a replay of the last game we watched where Bristleback and Clockwork just don't hang out together.
Yeah, for
Dire
sure.
team ban.
Alright, some more bands coming out here. Some more push gets dropped out when they take out the Luna, and also Venomancer pretty good on both sides of the push and the counter push with those Plague Wards going to be getting banned out. Also very annoying with the slow. I thought that might be the support that Stan and Pals would be looking to pair up with the Crystal Maiden.
Dire team.
But they're also going to take out the very slippery Weaver.
So at this point, looking at what they're going towards, they still have Lich open, they still have Bane would be a nice pickup. But
I mean, honestly,
really kind of aiming around their third pick. I'd like to see something more aggressive.
I'd be surprised not to see the
stand
Visage.
back support.
10 seconds remaining.
I'd be quite surprised not to see the Visage picked up here by Stan
5 seconds remaining.
They've already got the CM. They've got the big AoE damage with the Krill Spray from Bristleback, so always charge up the soul
Reserve
assumptions.
time.
And it's a pretty strong, aggressive tri-lane if they want to run
Yeah.
that, and they could also then still make another aggressive tri-lane out of that. They could even do Bane Mirana here if they wanted, with the Crystal Maiden aggressive, and then that'll leave Bristleback in the solo offlane. That'll give them the Clockwork matchup that we've already sort of talked about here.
And, well, I expect the Visage to be picked up either one side or the other. Lifestealer pickup, that's a very interesting one. Now they gotta figure out how they're gonna transport that Lifestealer. Because anytime you pick up a Lifestealer, you're picking somebody to take him into the fight. And I'd like to see a Puck right about now. That'd be a really good choice for Stand-Up Pals. But,
Yeah,
you
or
know,
even a Storm
the
Spirit.
Visage is still open for Climax. Or Storm Spirit, yes. He's got a lot more picks lately, I forgot that.
Yeah, definitely a nice hero. Easy to gank
10
early on,
seconds
but
remaining.
really hard to shut down later. Especially where teams are starting to use
5
a lot more
seconds
just
remaining.
AoE slow than necessarily disable. Like, look at their team right now, Stand and Pals. There's an Open Wounds. Storm Spirit doesn't care about it. Frostbite, Storm Spirit doesn't care about it. And Nasal Goo, well, Storm Spirit doesn't care about it. And there he is. Well, except for
There's
the
your
other
Storm
team.
Spirit, yep.
Pick.
Now, Rubik being picked up, that gives him a lot of versatility, but they just seem to be lacking. Doom's not a bad choice,
Dire team banned.
but it's, yet again, it just seems like I'm trying to figure out what they're trying to grasp around. If you're looking at maybe a tri-lane situation, Clockwork on the solo, Doom, Rubik, and Alchemist on the bottom lane, pulling the a tri-lane, it's going to be a defensive tri-lane, especially against this very aggressive tri-lane coming out of the Dire side.
5 seconds remaining.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll see who they want to put mid lane. They could probably put Doom there, and it wouldn't be
Reserve
too
time.
bad. But right now, I was talking about how Storm Spirit does well against lineups that don't have a lot of disable, and well, Stand and Pals would be an example of that. But of course, they pick up the Storm Spirit. On the other side of things, they do have Rubik with an instant stun, which is going to be nice for dealing with Storm Spirit. And also the Doom is going to be pretty good with Doom, of course, his namesake ability, and the concoction there from Alchemist is not disjointable, so there's that as well.
Yeah, I'm really kind of curious of what routing they're going to go here, because yet again, the fifth pick is going to make a really choice out of it, but it looks like most likely Storm Spirit's going to be in the mid. They're going to do either Lifestealer or Bristleback on a solo lane, with Crystal Maiden supporting whoever goes out on the other lane, and they're going to pick up somebody else here to go with the aggressive tri-lane. Or they might just actually go duos.
Yeah, they could get away with that. You mentioned Crystal Maiden always going into the aggressive lane, which is pretty nice given her Crystal Nova, the AoE, the damage, the slow, the attack speed slow, but she's also great in the defensive lane. Her ability to jungle, hit level 2 off the map, and then rotate over
Radiant
and gank up some lanes
ban.
here. As Clinks gets banned out there by Stand and Pals.
Yeah, I think the big problem with Clanks that they wanted to make sure, and I think Clanks was a hard pick for him, because they're like, if you come over and you can pick off the Crystal Maiden before she can really become effective, that could be a problem. And Clinks is one of those heroes that can really damage her early game.
Radiant team pick.
Alright, so they pick up the Mirana. So it looks like they're going to run this Mirana as a support here. Unless they get really greedy on the side of Stand and Pals and maybe try to get away with jungling the Lifestealer, but I just think that's not really going to be worth it. So expect an aggressive tri-lane with probably the Bristleback and the solo safe lane. So that means Lifestealer is going to go with them. And then, like you said, Storm Spirit obviously in the mid lane, but we see Viper picked up there. So Storm not going to have too easy of a time.
I think the Viper is really going to help them control the Storm Spirit to a certain extent, but it gets level 6. It's going to be a race to see who can survive.
Yeah, generally the kill window is there for the Storm Spirit if he can hit level 6 first, or
You really should.
Viper
prepare
Strike can
for
do a lot of
battle.
damage, but Storm Spirit can catch people off guard with the Ball Lightning, with the Rune. But let's introduce the teams here. So the best of 3 between Stan and Pals and Climax. Stan and Pals on the Dire. We've got Kunkka Monster here playing the Crystal Maiden, and it is that aggressive tri-lane. They've got the Cold Never Bothered Me Anyway on their Lifestealer, and of course that support Mirana by Stan King. Mid lane is going to be Sheepy playing that Storm Spirit, and up top we've got that Bristleback going to be handled by CBX.
Right, and then moving over to the Radiant side, we're checking out the Alchemist up here in the Ancient Camp. It is, oh god, Jopak, Climax? I'm not going to even waste my time too much on there. Then we got Senpai over here on the Clockwork in the top lane. Susie on the Viper in the mid. We've got Smeegs on the Rubik and Albrecht Zur on the Doom, and they're actually being kind of hunted right now, with the tri-lane being very aggressive from the Dire side as they move into the Radiant Forest.
Yeah, they've dropped this sentry down here just to block out that pool camp already. They're also, this one here will not only spot the rune as we can see, but it will also block the camp, so that's going to be pretty nice for them to have down there. In case Doom wants to meander on into the jungle and get those that aura from Devour, which is not a bad idea to do early just to help your lane out that much more.
Yeah, big thing to notice is he hasn't even picked up any of his skills yet, so he's kind of really focusing on the mindset that he might have to choose something after the laning phase starts. That is a lot of aggressive wards coming out from the Dire, though.
Yeah, they really don't want... I'm surprised they use this ward here. Could have maybe just put a sentry there, because Doom is not jungling. They see him in the lane now, and I don't know why they're so scared. It's not like there's a Shadow Fiend in the mid lane or something. And also, again, I don't know why they don't just wait for the Crystal Maiden to line up that arrow. So the aggressive tri-lane, they know it's here now. Alchemist there, that's going to be John Pack with the Concoction onto Conca Monster, and this should be the first blood here. There's the lift up by Rubik, and Conca Monster is going to go down. So once again, we see an aggressive tri-lane with the Mirana. The stun to set it up, but the execution is not quite there. Story of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's been kind of a going rate going on around here. Mirana's been picked a lot, but she's been having a very hard time landing those stuns. But now we're kind of looking at the slow growth here as Mirana is going to kind of keep them away. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that was one of those fights to the last hit things.
Well, Viper gets a little aggressive, and Viper would have won that if he didn't have a point in Corrosive Skin for some reason. I'm not really sure what's going on there. Definitely better to get that Nether Toxin. Would have won that fight. And now we see Stan King getting caught out. Only has Sacred Arrow, so there is no leap online, but they're going to have to back off there. And we see Doom farming quite well, even with the pressure. 7-1. He's got Devour, something you got to watch out for. Now they're trying to dive at the tower versus two defensive supports, and out... Oh, the stun from Alchemist comes in on the Crystal Maiden. The Scorched Earth regen is going to allow Doom to survive, and he's going to actually get the Lifestealer as they turn it around, and Stan and Pal just being over-aggressive.
And it's costing them every time they step out too far.
Yeah, I mean, they almost had it.
Defensive versus offensive. There's always the defender's advantage.
Yeah, that is definitely true, and especially when you're diving into Tier 1, and now we see Conca Monster going to get picked off here. Everything going very well for Climax, except for the fact that their Viper went kind of maybe misskilled that Corrosive Skin, and fortunately went down to Storm early, which is not a hero you want to give kills. But this tri-lane, the way it's going, the farm here, Doom has got 2 points in Devour, he's almost got the Midas. At
yeah,
2.5
it's
minutes.
really doing him a good job.
And we've got Bottom smoking herself, pretending a ward was there, acting like she was running back to the lane, smoked up by herself. But Alchemist, you know, not going to run into her, not going to break the smoke. So Viper should maybe see this coming. The arrow to fly, and it's going to hit the range creep, unfortunately. And then once again, I mean,
don't you hate
could
that?
just wait for the Vortex by the Storm Spirit, who could maybe have trouble running up in there. So I don't know. That one's okay.
That's one of the things that annoys you the most when you throw that spear and they just duck behind the last second.
Yeah, it can be annoying. That was a pretty close one, hitting the creep over the hero itself. But that rotation, Mirana goes by herself for some reason. I'm not really sure why she didn't wait for the CM, who is actually electing to go up into the jungle and going to go ahead and frostbite up some creeps, and Stan King going to rotate back down, maybe stack the Ancients, which is going to leave Lifestealer in a lane that isn't going to be great for him, but the CS for now is okay, 10-1 compared to the 15-1 of the Doom.
Yeah, Doom's gonna go ahead and start moving towards the forest, though. He wants to come in and start getting his jungle creeps. He's not gonna miss out as much as he can. He wants the Devour to get some of his creep skills that he really needs to be effective.
Let's see what he did pick up. He actually went with the Centaur War Stomp, but up top I hear the concoction here from the Alchemist, or at least I thought I did. Did he already throw it on CBX? And it looks like they will get this kill. Nicely done. Senpai will live through a 12 and 4 on him for the last hit denies, but Storm Spirit's actually going to show up and he will take him out with that haste rune. Caught me off guard.
And Alchemist had to pop his concoction on himself because he could not turn around and take that fight.
Yeah, that's alright. No harm, no foul. He's going to go back to base. He's level 3 now. Not too bad as Doom just keeps farming away in the bottom lane. He's actually went for the phase boots first instead of getting that Midas, which, I mean, starting this early, he could have had a Midas at 3 minutes. I think he should have gone for that. And we'll see what Doom wants to build, what role he wants to fill.
He's got a lot of options at this point because he can literally just kind of take his fight to the lifestealer, and the more he controls the lifestealer, the less the lifestealer is going to be a problem for him late game.
Yeah, and they actually are getting more than likely the mechanism. Yeah, the headdress already there on the Viper, so mechanism's going to be taken care of by Susie on the Viper, so that'll be nice. So that'll allow Doom to go for some more carry items, considering he is their one-role farmer right now. Although, I mean, getting that early Vlads into a fast AC is never a bad idea. It does allow you to push quite nicely. Maybe even a Shadow Blade just so you can't get picked off by the storm.
A good point here to notice is that they really want to kill this Viper.
Yeah,
and here they go. They got that combo off just the way you wanted it. And Susie's got to figure out what he's doing. He's got the poison going. He picks him off nicely.
That does not
and
destroy.
Alchemist is coming in, gonna try to pick off. Nice. So that was actually a very good trade for Climax. They picked off the Viper again, but Viper's been losing that lane pretty handily. And every time they take the point, as long as they can take it and make them pay for every time they take him, it's gonna be worth it for Climax.
Yeah, that was a good trade for them, getting 2 out of that. Marana, not realizing maybe that the concoction does not disjoint, and she basically leapt onto their side of the map, and there it goes again. It is nighttime, but the hook from Senpai, nicely done. Concoction Stand King gonna go down once more. So 7-3 here for the Radiant. Nice early advantage. They're up about 2,000 gold, maybe 1,000 XP in the bottom lane, though. We see Doom getting picked off. He dropped the Doom onto Sheepy, but this is what you got to watch out for. They've had a decent early game on the side of Climax, but Stan and Pals, they've got that Nyx Bomb. And you got to watch out for it.
Yeah, that Nyx Bomb is going to really allow them to be very aggressive. And if they're not careful, they will lose quite a few fights because they're not paying attention to it. Well, we got smoke going up from the top lane. Rubik and Alchemist are looking for something to do. Looks like they're heading towards the mid lane. They want to find something to kill. And right now, Stormy's hanging out by himself. But they found Marana. Oh, that's not the way you want to be found there, Alchemist. Arrow to the face.
Yeah, it's lucky it wasn't a very long stun there. Just one of the, basically the mini stun because of how close the range was. So he's able to get out of there. He might just want to drop an acid spray, clean up maybe a stack of creep here, hit level 6, and then once you're level 6, every time you press Chemical Rage, it's practically a free trip back to the base. But here they smoke up again, and they actually got Susie. So Susie might want to stay, you know, incognito for a little while, because if he breaks out of the smoke, then they're going to realize that something is up. And it looks like they do want to go for this Lifestealer.
If they get vision of him, oh, there's the hook shot. Alchemist coming up on the high ground to get the stun off.
Can't throw it though.
Can't get it off. He's gonna eat it. Oh, and he just barely slips behind that Centaur in time so the arrow doesn't take him out.
Alright, well, they forced a TP out there by the Lifestealer, so, you know, they send him back. He's not farming, he's not getting XP, so it's not too bad. It was a pretty big rotation, and they did use the hook. Something to keep in mind is they might want to save that, otherwise this Lifestealer can just rage keep you out every time. Unless, of course, he is doomed.
Well, I think they were hoping to follow it up before then, but here it is. Doom's in lane. He's going to keep getting his farm up, kind of making sure he gets all his last hits. He's doing a very good job of keeping ahead. Lifestealer's 27. Right now, Doom's sitting at 48. He's doing a good job making sure he gets every last hit possible. And it's only going to help him keep growing. Meanwhile, Lifesteal is just trying to do his best to keep his items up. He's got some money coming in, he's got his phase boots up, but he hasn't really progressed into some of the larger items you'd expect him to have by 9 minutes into the game. And that just more attests to how well this tri-lane has been working for the bottom lane on the Radiant side.
And then up top, this is the reason why you don't engage a Bristleback, because he will just kill all of you. As he's going to pick up the second kill here, the double kill for CBX. He's going to immediately try to TP, but that was pretty ambitious. You've got Warpath, you might as well just keep running with it. And who's going to pick up that kill there? It will be the Rubik, who maybe didn't want to throw that attack. But that's alright. Rubik picks up the kill there. Bristleback goes down, but he gets a double, and that's a trade that's worth it. They force out quite a few TPs. They've got Doom and Viper just running right now. The drums coming out for Doom as well after that. And the mechanism about completed here for Susie.
Yeah, good thing to notice here also is the stacks going on in the camp here at the top.
That's going
for
to be
the Dire
really
side,
key
they're
for
stacking
Bristle.
that camp very nice.
Yeah,
Bristle or Lifestealer will be able to enjoy that stack very well.
It'll be for Bristleback. He can clear it, actually. He can do it right now. He can clear out the entire stack. So they definitely are aware of how to exploit this hero currently. So he's gonna do that. It's gonna be nice. Lifestealer going to continue to suffer.
Yeah, he's actually
maybe
on his route to it right now. And it'd be nice if Lifestealer would wander with him, but Lifestealer yet again can just stay in lane and they won't notice anything's up.
Yeah, we can see that Quill Spray.
It's actually one of the things I've found that a lot of people have not been using that much of.
Oh,
has been the stacks.
Lifestealer in a bit of trouble now. Alchemist gonna, let's see, take an arrow here. So Lifestealer is down, but you know, Lifestealer, or the Alchemist rather, has hit 6. So Chemical Rage is online and 9 to 6. I hear a concoction on the backside. I think Crystal Maiden just way out of position. Rubik could have maybe thrown a lift there. I'm still on cooldown currently.
I actually forced Bristleback to come out of the camps there to possibly defend. So now he's got to go back to his farming, and you know, breaking up that rhythm actually breaks the stacks of the spines.
Yeah, good point.
They're all
there.
diving below the tower. They're thinking about what they want to do. They don't realize everybody's there.
Yeah, this is going to be a bad
There's a
fight
Nyx
here.
bomb.
Arrow to connect. The Alchemist will go down. Now they're going to work on Senpi. Maybe. Here comes the Storm Spirit zip-zapping in. Albrick is going to go down on the Doom. Even the Bristleback is going to be taken down. 3 heroes for Climax have fallen. Make it 4 there. Viper, the last one alive, now throws out his mechanism. Might want to have used that one a little bit earlier, but I don't think he was necessarily there, and they've got to be cautious. Okay, Kunkka will live. Might wanted to have denied the Crystal Maiden there. Nice team win there for Stan and Pals on the bottom lane.
Yeah, it was very good. Worked out very well for them. Actually forced them to come back and try to defend now because, you know, the Alchemist had to come in. He had to figure out what he wanted to do. Uh-oh. Is he gonna get it? Oh, he didn't get it in time. Man.
I'm still going to do a ton of damage.
Trying to do a
course
flare
it's
kill of
physical.
the... Yep. I also tried to flare take out the Kunkka, and Crystal Maiden had already passed the point. The flare missed her, so... We've always had that wonderful shot from downtown that takes them out as they're walking into their fountain. Is always the best.
Yeah, not a bad idea. It's only a rank 2 though, Rocket Flare. It used to be the spell to max first, but everyone has kind of figured out how powerful Battery Assault actually is. I don't understand why that took anyone so long to figure out, but I don't know. Rocket Flare, pretty much just using it for your vision as we've got these the 2 supports in the offlane are grouped up. Maybe they want to throw a smoke gank. What's coming out here? The Medallion of Courage is now finished up on the Alchemist, so that's going to help them out in these team fights as Doom is now, looks like he's going for a Helm of the Dominator?
Radiant structures are fortified. Dire's structures are fortified.
Very interesting build coming out of the Doom. I think it's mainly just so he can keep control over what's going on. He's probably going to use his Helmet Dominator to control for creep camp pulls, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, which is an item
But that
where...
stack that just fed into that Bristleback is really going to help him become very nasty very quickly.
Yeah, he's already got that Vanguard online, that'll be nice. Actually, Arrow there hitting the Clockwork. They're not really keeping a lookout for there. The Doom goes out onto the Lifestealer, so that's going to be good for them. Meanwhile, Sheepy on the back side of things. The end is from the Mirana ult, but it's not going to be enough. I think, yeah, they're going to be able to get him. There's enough damage over time on him, but he keeps disjointing, buying some time, but Susie will find him out with that nether toxin now. Nicely done.
Yep, and now they're over here fighting, trying to take out that bristleback before she gets too nasty. Bristleback's going to walk out of this one fairly easily. And Rubik's thinking about taking a fight, dives too close to the tower, is going to take the shot from the arrow coming out of Stan King.
Yeah, bit of an overextension. If Bristleback is facing you and you're a Rubik and you attack for 60 damage, you should probably just back off. It's not likely that it's going to happen as... Well, we see this Viper with a pretty unconventional build, maxing out Corrosive Skin first over everything else. I mean, it gives you some more magic resistance, which is nice, and a little bit of damage over time, but I think the poison attack is just so much better. At rank 1, it's only a 10% attack and move slow. At rank 4, it's 40%, which is pretty substantial. Able to lock down people a lot better with that.
That the worst thing about Viper, it's just like going up against a Drow. You max out that slow, and it's like you cannot get away from them at all.
Indeed. Okay, so 14-12 is the score. It was earlier Climax with about a 2,000 lead, but now it's Stan and Pow with about a 6,000 experience lead, 2,000 gold, so things going well for them after those team fights in the bot lane with Climax being a little too aggressive.
Yeah, Climax is having a little bit of trouble handling the aggression here, but right now they're tower for tower, 1 for 1. But they're really losing out on the overall XP and gold graphs. Just having a hard time controlling this.
Let's see, Bristleback, he's farmed up that Vanguard, he's got the power turrets as well, and he's going into a Blade Mail, so just going to get that armor up, continue to be tanky and extremely hard to focus down despite being needed. They need to focus him, pretty much, so it's a bit of a double-edged sword there. So that's going to help them out. On the side of Climax, we've got Susie. He's finally got that mechanism up, but it's 16 minutes in. He doesn't have a progression towards much else. He had a difficult time in that mid lane. Storm Spirit, for some reason, didn't. Not sure what went down there, but Sheepy is 6-2 and 4 with treads, and not too far off from completing that Orchid, which he should maybe be a little bit closer to, but he's been doing a good job regardless.
Yeah, and meanwhile... We've got, looks like a Helm of the Dominator coming out on, well, no, he's going for Armlet over here on the Lifestealer.
Well, they force out the Moonlight Shadows, and it looks like Stan King and friends are going to look to initiate. There's the Lifestealer bomb onto everybody. They're going to take out 2. Pretty much immediately, the clockwork goes down. Sheepy will be focused, and now they're going on to the Doom Crystal Maiden with the ultimate. Nicely done, pumping out the damage. The Viscous Nasal Goo goes out, and for some reason, they are... Yeah, okay. They're fairly low, but I mean, Bristleback, pretty tanky right now. Only 2 heroes remaining. They could use actually getting some objectives. So far, Sap has taken out the mid tower, looking to get the top one right now. Alright, that arrow!
There goes
that's a pretty big
the arrow
hitbox.
on the Venomancer, or the Viper.
Close enough.
And this is one of those situations where that Corrosive Skin would help, but doesn't do you enough to really help. They try to get the damage out. They got everyone TPing up towards the top. Well, everyone is back. Looks like Clockwork wants to land that hook, but he has nothing to land the hook on.
It was close. Just barely missed that Crystal Maiden shooting that blind hook, and that's going to be a long cooldown, and now Storm is going to try to capitalize on that. Pushing Smeegs outside of the cogs. With the Vortex, that's sort of a weird interaction. And we got the Armlet done now on the Lifestealer. And another good small engagement going the way of Stan and Pals, as we've got Stan King and CBX both heading back into the top lane. They're just going to continue to 5 now, it looks like, and fight. They've been doing a good job, as there's only 15 seconds left on Infest.
Yeah, I expect to see him pop right back in here as soon as that's off cooldown, and he's just going to go at it again. Gonna be a back and forth game over and over again.
Yeah, well, I mean, looking at the graphs, it's not really that back and forth. Stan and Pals is already 10,000 experience ahead, which is really, really big here at just 18.5 minutes. The gold only about 4,000, not as big of a deal, because if we look at the item progression, there's a mech, a medallion, some drums, and a Vlad's here, so I do like that the Doom went for the Vlad's. But yeah, I mean, actually not a whole lot of items on either side, but the Vanguard, the Blade Mail is pretty strong for the Bristle as they are going to fight him up. So they doom him down as the team fight gets underway, which means Doom is pretty much wasted. CBX doesn't even care. He can go back in and fight. Clockwork, meanwhile, took onto Sheepy. Sheepy needs to get out of there, but Level Death will get him. And now the Lifestealer trying to battle up here. Very, very hard to play Lifestealer versus that Viper. He's going to go ahead and infest up, but it looks like Stan and Pals, they're losing this fight pretty badly.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty bad fight for them. They dove in trying to take out the Clockwork, and they failed to do it because of the mech going off by the Susie. Susie's done a very good job of doing the damage needed. Oh, and that Lifestealer just barely makes it out.
Yeah, good sense to just Rage TP. They've got nothing that can stop it besides the hook, and it was already on cooldown. So that's a nice team fight win despite being that far behind in XP. They start to turn things around and get an objective, taking up their second 2-1 tower here in the top lane.
Dire's top tower has fallen.
And the AC is already pretty much underway here.
Yeah, it's going to really allow... that good turnaround really helped them as they grow moving forward here.
And that's going to delay the Orchid. Sheepy keeps going down in these engagements, maybe biting off more than he can chew. I mean, they're pretty tanky. This Alchemist now, still only level 8. If it gets 11, it's going to be hard to bring down with rank 2 Chemical Rage. The Viper as well. I mean, as much as I don't really agree with it, maxing out this Corrosive Skin and then has been fairly effective with the magic resistance. Storm Sphere can't really bring him down, and I guess that's why he went for it, but I think just being more aggressive with the poison attack in the mid lane on Storm would have been better, and he would have laned better, but now for the mid game, the Corrosive Skin doesn't seem all that bad.
Here they go, they're going to try to take out the Alchemist. Mech goes down. Susie's got that going. She's making and unable to escape. Full team wipe. Just very good engagement. The Clockwork was in the right position, but that Crystal Maiden got right where she needed to be and did that ult, and it just destroyed that team fight for him. Did so much good here.
Yeah, I mean, likely, even as much as I wanted to see the fight break out there, if Rubik didn't get caught first, and then maybe Clockwork had that same hook set up, and they could have fought maybe a little further out from this point, so that the freezing field wasn't going to be hitting them all. Instead, they kind of just clumped there, couldn't get out. Rubik was already dead, so he couldn't steal a spell of any significance. So, and they can't even Rosh
really
right
cost
now.
them there on that fight. Yeah, that is the key. Look how close that team fight was. It's just the sheer amount of damage output going through there that they don't have enough left to fight the Rosh.
Yeah, they just really don't have
it.
good of a Rosh killing team, to be honest. I mean, they've got Mirana that could have set up that long-range arrow. They could have broken it and then popped the open wounds on it to get all their health back up, but just didn't do so there. And Crystal Maiden picks up the mech, so that's going to help out the team a lot. They just took that last engagement. They still have a pretty sizable advantage, and now they've got a mech to match the mech on the Viper. Doom, his AC progress has slowed down a little bit, but he's pretty close. 300 gold away now.
Yeah, and the big thing to notice is he's not wasting his time trying to get it out of lane. He's going straight back towards the jungle to try to figure out where he can get the money from. Problem is, his jungle's being abused already by Alchemist and Viper. So now he's going to have to go all the way into his far jungle.
Yeah,
They know what's going on, they're going to see the Rosh, and now they're like, oh, okay, we'll come play.
One of the benefits
Now
of
we can see
having
how well
the
this
Clockwork.
team fight's about to go. There goes the Cog, lock him in. But they all went invis, and that's going to cause him all sorts of problems.
Yeah, Star's
And
able to
Alchemist
pick off
traded
the
out.
Alchemist too. Stormspirit, the sacrificial lamb, for this team, goes 1-for-1 on the trade, but I mean it's not really worth it. Sure, Alchemist can do well later on if he is allowed to farm up, but he's very, very far from that. And then Clockwork had a good idea there, but even that was a little risky. They knew how low that Rosh was. They've been losing the last couple engagements, and then Clockwork basically locked himself in there, locked himself in the lion's den when he cogged up.
Yeah, it was more just, I think, to try to lock them in, and he just didn't realize that when his hook landed, he was stuck in the middle of them. I think he was trying to catch somebody at the front door and just lock the door and run.
Alright, so I like this Doom player. He went for the build that I wanted to see. Goes straight for the Vlad, straight for the Assault Cuirass. Pretty much that armor aura build, which is going to be great. They've also got the mechanism, so that's basically plus 15 armor to everyone on the team when they are all 5-manning, which is going to be really, really nice against the Viscous Nasal Goo. It's going to help against the physical Quill Spray damage, as well as just, general right-clicks. What they could use maybe now is a pipe coming out on somebody. There is a fair amount of magic damage still coming out. Crystal Maiden, the Starfall, the Storm Spirit. I don't think the pipe is completely necessary, but it could make breaking the high ground easier in this game. If they get to that. I mean, they're still
the question is who would they put it on at this point? I would like to see it on possibly the Alchemist, but the Alchemist is so underfarmed right now, he's not going to be able to make that happen anytime soon.
Yeah, Doom's already has quite a few cheap items. Might want to get some damage coming out. I would say the Clockwork, but hasn't had that big of an impact this game. He's 4, 6, and 8 right now. Only 55 last hits. As we talked about on the draft, this laning versus that Bristleback, it's not entirely easy for him, so not getting that much this game.
There they go, they all smoked up, they're looking for something to do. I think they'd like to get a hold of somebody, but looks like the Dire knew what was coming and is not going to run that risk. And now that they realize that there's nothing to do, they're just going to go ahead and move towards the mid lane and just kind of wait it out. There's not much they can really do to get around all this. Oh, but they may find a Bristleback in the woods, and that's exactly what they're going to do.
And it's got the Blade Mail down when they're focusing him, so Alchemist has already dropped here. The Doom goes off onto the Lifestealer, but he should be able to pick off the Clockwork. He does just that. So 2 down for the side of Climax. Might even get some more here as Smeegs on the Rubik gonna take the fall. Now they go over to the Doom.
Yep.
Nicely done.
And Susie was on the walk back through, not close enough to really do any good, so just kind of turns around and goes back controlling the lane. But right now, with that 1v5 is not going to happen.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Looks like the stream had went down for a second, which is why it was radio silence just then. But a good team fight there
Yay,
for
radio silence.
Stan and Pals. They're pushing there into the mid tier 3 tower right now. The Wilson fortification going to be popped up. And there's the Yule Scepter.
Now it looks like
done
they're going
into
in on
arrow.
the Viper. They want to take him out. If Viper could stay alive just long to get that ult off, that'd be really needed right about now. Blockwork is having some fun, picked off, but they got an Aegis on him, and that's not going to help them at all. Doom is out, looking for something to do. And they're going to try to focus out this Bristleback now. Picked him up, taking him out. Alchemist is getting the farm.
The team pretty much just abandoned him. Everyone was pretty low. Sheepy goes back to get some split push going on in the bottom lane, I guess, but he maybe should have just went back to base. He's pretty low right now. 9, 6, and 12 is his KDA, so he's done a lot this game. As he goes now, finishes up that BKB, that's going to be pretty nice for him.
Yeah, it's going to really allow him the safety of when he dives in. I'd like to see a few more Nyx bombs coming out of that team, just because they have the capability. They just haven't really been using it as effectively as they would like to.
Yeah, well, they're still up by 11 kills. The gold and, wow, the XP is over 20,000 right now. They've been forcing Climax to pretty much 5-man this entire game because of the pick-off potential. So you do expect them to be leading in XP. Gold as well, they're about 8,000 ahead, but with the lineup right now that Climax has, it doesn't seem like they're out of it yet. They can definitely win fights pretty easily.
Oh yeah, and the big thing that I see coming out of them is the fact that once they start winning these fights, it's going to be very hard for Stan to come back. Stan and Pals is going to have a very interesting fight coming up on them. And once these items start really falling in on the Alchemist, on the Viper, as they get the proper items, they're going to be a very nasty team to try to fight against. So right now the control is good, but it's just not doing everything they need.
Yeah, and let's see, Bristleback now going towards a Heart of Tarask, which he almost has, about 600 gold away from that. There's a Basher up on the Lifestealer, as well as a Plate Mail now, so he is also, well, he's only about 1,000 gold away from picking up an Assault Cuirass of his own, so that'll level the playing field in the team fights a little bit. And I really think it's just this 15 armor is really helping out. Bristleback isn't doing nearly as much damage as you would expect him to with his Quill Sprays, and besides that, there's not a lot of right-click at all on this team. Lifestealer hitting for a little under 200 right now.
Big thing to notice here is Mirana's actually picked up a Gem of True Sight to kind of de-ward with. And she's been using it very effectively to control the Ancient Camp. But that's about all. That's a lot of money to just kind of control just one camp.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
hey,
well, that camp has
it's
worked
just money.
quite a bit, so... Up in the top lane, Doom getting pretty aggressive. Clearly someone is behind him if he's just going to charge past a creep wave like that, so everyone is going to back off. Oh, if that hook had landed, that would have been a really nice way back into this game, picking off the Lifestealer and the Storm Spirit, but the TP is able to be completed. And it actually went to the mid lane as we look Storm Spirit and Friends trying to push down the mid tier 3 once more, despite, I mean, they've got tier 2s that they can work with. And they already tried this once.
And here,
with an
only a
Aegis.
few people are TPing back, so they're going to have a hard time dealing with this fight.
Everyone's there now.
As they all TP back, this is the fight they actually want. They want to force this fight. Viper's being picked off first. They're doing as much damage as they possibly can. But on the turnaround of it, they are taking out whoever they can. Mirana goes down for a trade for Viper, and they're actually chasing him back out.
Well, it was a 4-man concoction.
He's about to get picked off.
There's a 4-man unstable concoction there from the Alchemist. The Dire team here just bunching up as they funnel on through, trying to get kills rather than focusing on actually sieging the tower. So just some sloppy play here by Stan and Pals. Well, technically it was a 3-man concoction because Lifestealer was raged, but still does the damage.
Yeah, and the damage does help out.
Dire's structures.
But now with 3 men down, only 2 people to defend, and 2 towers being pushed, one by a creep wave and one by the actual heroes, they're gonna lose 1. There's nothing they can do about that. This is gonna help them slowly start turning the tide back in their direction.
And the hook is up here for Senpai.
Meanwhile, as they start all coming back, they've got to figure out how they want to deal with this fight coming.
Yeah, I think after that fight, that dive, that was a bit of a throw potentially by Stand and Pals. Climax looks to be pretty much dictating the flow of the game at the moment, and Force Staff is now up for the Clockwork, so I think that maybe should have been his first item. It's generally the best one to go for when going up against that Lifestealer, so you can hook in cogs and then just force yourself out, not to be focused down, and then Lifestealer can't really do anything, or at least he has to attack the cogs 3 times to get out. And another decent item coming out, the Halberd right now on John Pack.
Yes, that's a beautiful item to see go down on that Alchemist. That just really tells you how much of a difference in farm has happened in just the last 3 to 5 minutes. Alchemist just went from having, an okay stuff to, oh crap, he's got a halberd. That halberd is going to allow him to be very crucial in team fights now.
Yeah, at least after Rage has already been used, then Lifestealer is pretty much going to be useless. If Bristleback starts chasing people down, or he starts doing a lot of damage with his right click because of the Warpath stacks, then you can go ahead and halberd up him, but gotta be careful not to use it on the Lifestealer and then just have him rage out of it. Then your item is pretty much useless.
Yeah, and another thing to notice here is we've got 4 guys from the Radiant side just kind of sitting in the same spot over and over again. But they know where the Dire side is. They're not surprised. It's not like, oh, hey, I've never seen them over there hanging out in that camp, as they've been doing for the last 4 times. Problem is, they can't really go in there and do anything.
Yeah, it's definitely helped the Bristleback, as we see Storm TPing out there on the top lane. But Bristleback does remain first in net worth for his team there at 13.6k. It's Doom that leads, of course, you know, with Devour working the way it does, basically a free Midas. He's also got a BKB now, so he's starting to do a decent amount of damage, critting for about 500 on the creep, because of course he does have the critical strike aura. But the second Roche of the game, and very well could be for Stan and Pals. Now they're finally utilizing that viscous nasal goo.
But their problem is they just got spotted out, and Radiant is converging. Oh, but that ult by Mirana really helps let them back off. They don't have to be really attacked. Clockwork is kind of in a bad position if he's not careful here. They want to take him out. They get the Alchemist because Alchemist thought it was safe to go back to the jungle. And Clockwork gets nailed by the arrow.
Alright, nicely done there to pick off the Alchemist. Pushing the Acid Spray is always hard, and Alchemist was pretty much their undoing the last time when they tried to dive and got hit by a 3 or 4 man unstable concoction. So now they can push in. If we check out the buyback status, it is not available here. So they lead by 10 kills, almost 10,000 gold and 20,000 XP. The Glyph of Fortification is popped here, so as long as they focus the tower, Sand and Pals should be able to get a Rax.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
At this point, there's enough damage going down that... Oh, Clockwork Force Staffs out and gets himself right in the middle of them, not where he wanted to Force Staff out to. He really did not want to get into that fight.
Alright, BKB by
But
Doom.
here comes Doom, and Doom wants something to kill.
And he does it, but he does waste his Doom on the Storm Spirit, which had an Aegis. He respawns now. Crystal Man with a nice ultimate once again, gonna get canceled out after not too long, but Rubik to fall. Susie as well, gonna go down. 39-25, buyback by Rubik. Alchemist on the deck as well. Now there's a Rubik bought back, and now he's all alone, not gonna be able to stop this at all. This very well could be the GG coming out here in game 1, but yeah, they're gonna throw it out. I mean, there's no way they can get 2 racks here, just because of the tier 2 tower still being up in the side lanes, but you know, 40-25, well played by Stan and Pals.
Yeah, I mean, very good turnarounds, very close, actually very surprising turnarounds back and forth, but Stan was able to hold on to their lead and keep pushing on through, and that's a really big key a lot of people miss out on.